Hi, how's it going? Welcome to the second part of the Houdini abstract virus tutorial. In this part, we're going to take a look at rendering. We're going to set up our materials, and we're going to do some lighting. Besides that, I am going to change one thing in our current version of the setup. And let me just hide all these objects. I'm going to dive inside my geometry, and I'm going to take a look at my strands. Okay, so there is a problem in here, and I noticed that as I was setting up this part, and I'd like to actually change that, and it's the fact that we are making some points in here, for example, on top of our originals. As you can see, we have 2-point numbers in here, 2-point numbers in here, 2-point numbers in here. Also on some other parts we can take a look at, like for example, this part or this part. As you can see, we have 2-point numbers on top of each other. Now, what's happening here? Why are we getting this? Well, it's actually very simple. We're going to take a look at it in 2D, and I'm going to explain to you what's happening. So basically, this is my point. Okay, this is my original point, and it's moving in this direction. And at some point, I'm going to create a replicate. So I'm here, and I'll be making this replicate. Now, my replicate is going to go in this direction, and my original point is going to keep going, for example, at this direction. Now, let's take a look at our red particle now. Again, we're going to be repeating the same procedure here. This is where my red particle goes, and I have like a blue one, for example, in here. And this is the new replicate, and it's going to go in this direction. And again, we have our blue particle, and our green particle is going to be the new one, and it's going to go in this direction. Now, this is the way it should be. But in our setup, we made a mistake here, and it was actually merging these two branches together. So, and if you take a look at the pop replicate node, it's not just creating a replicate, it's actually creating a replicate and keeping the original one. And you can just come here and say kill original particle, but then you're gonna get some issues with the trailing, so you shouldn't hit that. And now what's happening is you are making one additional particle in here as well, and it's going to be on top of our original particle. Now, I'm gonna explain why is that happening here and how to fix that. So, why are we getting this? Well, it's very simple. We are merging them together. So we have one additional particle. Where is it coming from? From our pop replicate node. So we have our original particle, and it's going to come in this stream, and then we create two new particles. One of them is actually the original particle. So we have our original particle, and then we have the new one, which is the replicate, and then we're going to merge this with our original particle. So basically we have two particles, and those two are the originals, and then we have our pop replicate, and that's why we are getting one additional point there. And the way to fix it is actually really simple. We're just going to delete that. We're going to go to the beginning, and I'm just gonna put this one on the core. I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna turn on these strands. Yeah, and let's take a look now. And the issue should be fixed. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in these strands here, and I can't see any issues. As you can see, our point numbers are correct now. Now, one problem that we'll be getting in this setup right now, and it's not a problem. It's just dialing. We need to dial up our numbers in here inside our pop replicate, because right now we are getting less particles. So let's just bring it up to like 10. I think 10 is going to be a good number. I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna hit render. Let's take a look. Let's go forward like 240. And yeah, it seems good. I kind of like it. Alright, so problem is fixed. Also, I don't like this this problem that we're having in here, and the reason why we're getting that weird shape is because let me actually create a new camera. I'm gonna lock into it. I'm gonna take a look at my original angle. Okay, let's just rotate this. It's probably going to be in here, I think. Let me restart the rendering. Camera 2. And yeah, I was almost right about the location. Yeah. So that's it. It's gonna be here. And the reason why this is happening is because this point is actually turning around itself, and we can just play with our values on the popnet and just get a result that we like. It's not really important, but let's just come to our pop wind. I'm gonna play with the offset. Let's just set it up to a very different number. I'm gonna play with the swirl size a little bit, and don't forget that you actually have to go to the beginning of the timeline and simulate everything from the beginning. Let's go to the camera number 1 and hit play. And I'm not the biggest fan of this branch right now because we're losing these streams, you know, and I don't like that. So let's just stop this again. I'm gonna play with this value a little bit more. I'm gonna simulate it again. Let's go up one level so that we can see our shape. And oh yeah, actually I like this. This looks very good. So yeah, this is gonna be our angle, which we're going to create our rendering. We're gonna set up the lighting, and yeah, let's just see how it goes. All right, I'm just gonna make this smaller. I'm gonna put it on the side. I am going to come here. Let's just bring it down. Let's take a look at our camera. So this is where our camera is, and I'm just gonna do. I don't need the camera number 2. What I'm going to do here is setting up the lighting first before moving on to setting up the materials. We can always come back and just work with the lights after that as well, but let's just take a look at our lighting before that. But before actually creating the lighting, let me create the materials. So RS material builder. We are going to need, let's just turn on all our objects and our background. So we have one for the core, one for the strands, red blood cells, the background, and the tiny strands. So basically 5 of those. So I'm just gonna hold on Alt and just copy them over. We're gonna call this one core. We're gonna call this one strands. We're gonna call this one tiny strands. We're gonna call the next one red blood cell, and we're gonna call the last one BG as in background. Okay, now let's apply these materials. Just click and drag them over. Where are tiny strands? Okay, red blood cells and background. All right, nice. Let's take a look. Sounds good. Looks good. I'm gonna turn off our bokeh. And yeah, this is good. All right. Now let's set up our lighting. So I'm just gonna do a basic 3-point setup, maybe 4, because I do like having some volumetrics here. So I'm gonna put down one light in this angle. I'm just gonna hold control down and click on the RS light. Now you're seeing the view as the light, so you can just change your position and you can change the light. I'm gonna set it here, maybe something like this. I'm gonna go here. This is our first light. I'm just gonna copy it, drag this over, call this the second one. I'm gonna go to right click here, go to the second light. I'm gonna lock the view, change my position, maybe bring it here. Our lights are obviously very small right now. I'm gonna copy it for the third time, gonna lock onto it again and set up one light above on top of it, maybe in here. And actually I think we need one light for the background as well, so let's just go to the number 4 that I just made, and we're gonna change this angle to be on for the background. And we might want a 5th one as well, but we should just wait and see. All right, so our lighting is finished. Not even close. We need to dial the numbers, and it's going to be time consuming, but we can just take a look right now. And before doing that, I'm actually going to turn off my HDRI because I want to set up everything from scratch, and we can add an HDRI after that and just control everything. As you can see, our values are way too low and our lights are way too small, so we can just come here to our number 1 area light, and I'm just going to name them as well. So this one is probably, I actually want to have the light coming from this side, like I want this one to be my key light instead of the other one, and therefore I need to bring it a little bit forward. Let's go to the second one, bring this one a little backward. Okay, so the first one, I'm gonna be my key, the light number 2, which is going to be this one. It's going to be my fill. I mean, technically, this is not a rim light. It's going to be a top coming from top. I'm just going to call it top. And for this one on top, it's going to work on the background, so I'm just going to call it BG. Let's call it BG light. All right. Let's take a look at our key light. Okay, so let's make it bigger, way bigger. And yeah, we are getting something. I'm also going to select all of them and just go to the light tab and turn off visible. So if they do come into the view, we won't just see them, because I don't like that when that happens. Let's take a look at our fill light. I'm gonna make that one bigger as well. Let's just go to like 2.5. I think it's gonna be a good number. Maybe 3. Yeah, 3 seems good. We're gonna go to our top light. We're gonna make it a little bigger. Let's leave it at 3 as well. This seems good. And for our background, we're gonna make it actually way bigger, like about 6, I think. All right. Yeah, this seems actually pretty good. I like it. We might actually not create one separate light for the volumetrics, or we might do it. All depends on how things look after adding the materials. I'd like to add the volumetric light after I set up everything, because well, volumetrics might be a little heavier. I mean, Redshift handles volumetric very well, but still, we don't want to make it harder for our engine. Let's turn on the bokeh effect and let's take a look here. Oh, I like this. The lighting is actually pretty good. You can work a little bit on these shadows here. I am going to tweak the lights after we set up our materials. Okay, so let's take a look at the core, this part. I'm going to hold shift down and I'm going to drag this and crop our view. By the way, I have my denoiser turned on to optics. You can just leave it at none and you'll have some noise here. I prefer working with the denoiser. It gives very quick and very fast results. All right. Don't forget to save. Our scene is not very heavy, but it might cause some issues, so it's better to save everything. We might actually get a crash or something like that, you know. Okay, let's dive inside. So we're going to set up our core now. Let's take a look at the render that I had. Okay, so the way this material is set up. Let's take a look at our core first. So I have a bunch of materials on top of each other. I have some noises. I'm just gonna create some materials in here and we're gonna take a look at how to do that. After that, we're going to set up our strands. They are pretty easy to do. They're not very difficult. We're gonna just add noise on top of each other. And yeah, that's it. I also made another setup and it's this one. It uses basically the same technique. We're just creating smaller strands. We're adding this bubble around it and it's just a basic water material, and as you can see we have some roughness on it. It basically uses the same technique. All right. We're going to take a look at our first layer of material. The way we are going to be doing this is creating matte blenders, which our matte blender node, what it does is actually combining the material that we have with another material based on a noise that we make. And we're going to use the max on noise here. So we're going to set up our first material, we're going to set up our second material, and then we're going to use a max on noise to combine them. And you can just do this forever. The way I prefer to set up materials is connecting them together to this one and then create a separate tree like this down here, and then combining those together with another max on noise and just keep adding to it. All right, so let's just stick to the first one. Now I don't want reflections. I want to bring the reflection up. Let's just experiment with color like this. This seems like a good color to me. I like that. We can continue developing this. You can obviously use like the presets, something like Jade. The way Jade is functioning, it's actually using subsurface scattering, which we're not going to take a look at in this tutorial. It looks really good. You can also dial up the roughness and get something a little more rough, and you can just simply change the color, change the subsurface color as well. Let's just go with something like this, or you know, in this theme, and you can see we are getting some very tiny blue shapes in here, and I love that. Or getting some small red parts. Maybe I should actually turn this into tone like this, and yeah, it looks lovely. It might be a little time consuming to do subsurface multi-scattering. You can also use the subsurface normal scattering. We might take a look at it later. I don't know. Let's just see how it goes. I'm trying to keep this tutorial under 30 minutes, which looking at my timestamp right now, I realize it's probably not possible because we have like 10 minutes left, but I don't want to do a too long tutorial for this one. I'm gonna try to keep it at least under 45 minutes. Okay, let's be a little bit faster. I'm not gonna tweak too many materials here. I'm just gonna set this to this color, bring it down, add some roughness here. Let's go to our second material. I'm gonna take a look at it. Also, you can just right click here and go to other presets that you can do in here. I really like this, but the one I really like is complementary, which is gonna go get you the complement of your color. So I set up this one in this section, and I'm just gonna go here and take a look, and maybe we can use this one, make it a little darker, add some roughness to it. Okay, this is good. Let's just combine them together. We want to be fast in here. We want to get some good results. Okay, now we're not getting anything, and the reason is we haven't had any blend color in here. How does the blend color work? You can just put down a noise. Right now I'm using the max on noise. You can use a redshift noise, RS noise. I think the max on noise is very good. The redshift, the RS noise is actually a very powerful node, but you have to dial all these values in here and you have to experiment with them. It might get a little complicated. You can use the cell noise. I really like the cell noise, but let's stick to the max on noise. Just gonna delete that. I'm gonna come here. I like FBM. FBM gives us very good results. I'm gonna make this 10 times bigger. I'm gonna add some octaves in here, and I'm gonna play with the cycles value. Let's just leave it at something like this. I'm gonna play a little bit with my low clip and high clip. Yeah, this seems good. And I'm just gonna connect it to the blend color and connect this to the surface. And wow, we're getting something actually really interesting. I really like it. One thing that you can do here is going back to your object, going back to your geo, and let's just stop rendering. And let's take a look at our object. Now, we have to simulate this again, obviously, since I'm changing this. So I'm just gonna leave the flag in here. I'm gonna hide other objects, and let's just take a look at our core. So we are using a noise, and why not turn this noise into a CD value, which is going to be something like this. And you can just multiply it if you want. You can multiply it by a constant. Let me just use the multiply constant node, which is actually much easier. Let's just multiply it by 2.5, maybe even 3.5. And yeah, this looks actually really good. I like it. So we're just gonna leave it at this. I'm gonna turn everything back on. Let's just go to our trail. And we're not going to have any weird results here. We're just simulating this again. And should be fine. All right, yeah. Let's just save it. And let's take a look. And nothing is going to be different because we didn't set up anything in here. So I'm just gonna bring a new node into my material context, and I'm gonna bring the RS user, RS color user data. All right, so my computer crashed. I'm just gonna hit render view again, and let's take a look. All right, yeah, this seems good. I actually kind of like the monochrome that we're having here, so I don't know, we can just leave it like that. All right, so I was bringing the let's just pause this. User color user data, and let's just connect this into our surface and see what's going on in here. So as I turn this on, and I actually forgot to type CD in here, you need to specify the attribute. Otherwise it's going to be just this black color in here. Let's just do this thing again. And yeah, we are getting our noise. So we can actually use this noise to drive this mask in here. But I need to add a ramp before that. And we're just gonna hit refresh again. And we're not connecting anything here, and that's why we're not getting anything. And we should be fine. Okay, yeah, we are getting some very faded color, and the reason why I added the mask, and obviously you can just connect your color in here, but you can have so much more control if you actually put down a ramp. You can just play with this value. As you can see, I am adding to that. Also play with this side of it. We don't want to really add too much from this first material. And by the way, one thing that can really help you with setting up things like this, let's just connect our user data or our ramp directly into our surface. The white parts are going to be this layer 1, the second one, and the black parts are going to be the first one. You should just remember that, because we're going to use this a lot, and it's going to be very helpful, because you might get confused at first. I know I was. So just remember that wherever it's black, it's going to be your base color, and whenever you have this white, it's going to be your layer color number 1. Alright, and let's just connect it like this. Cool. We're getting something really interesting. I really like this. I might change this roughness value and bringing it down a little bit, you know, like making this super rough and actually making this darker, something like this, and then making the other one a little bit more, add some reflection to it. And you can also use like a preset here, like a copper preset, which I really love. And you know, this might be the look you're going for. I'm not, so I'm just gonna hit Ctrl Z and go back to my custom material. Now, I don't like this. I don't like how this thing looks. And that's what I meant when I said I keep adding materials in between. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to copy my material blender. I'm going to remove these connections. I'm going to wire this thing into here. And I'm going to copy this node. I'm going to connect it to color number 1, and I'm going to bring my max on noise. So let's just change this, make it a little lighter. And as you can see, I am adding something in here. Let's just make it pure black and pure white, and you can see what I'm doing. And I actually kind of like this whiter color, so I might actually stick to this. Maybe turn it like this. Oh yeah, this looks cool. I like it. Maybe play with this value a little bit. Make it a little lighter. All right, yeah, I like it. And again, let's take a look, and you can just connect this thing into your base color and take a look at your noise. And as I mentioned, the white parts are going to be the second one, the black parts are going to be the first one, and it's true for any node that you use. We're going to play with our cycles. You can play with your contrast as well. I don't want to do that in here. I kind of like these edges, and if you bring it up, you're going to lose them. The octaves seem fine. Let's just make it a little bit bigger. And yeah, this seems good to me. All right. And you can obviously play with this value. You can make this smaller. You can make the red parts bigger. You can even go back to your sub-level geo and just change those as well and make it even better. Whatever you like. Basically, the possibilities are endless. Now, what I like to have here is having some bumps on this material. You know, I want them to stand out. So I'm going to use my noise in here. You can actually use another noise as well. It's fine. Yeah, let's just create a separate noise here. And I'm just going to connect it to layer color number 1 and see what I'm having here. The basic noise is usually not good. I usually stick to FBM, or I might go with this Voronoi number 1. I might go with Fire, and I really also like Booyah. Let's go with Booyah for this one. Booyah is very good for small details, and I'm just gonna add a bump map. Open my overall and connect it to there. Now, you might ask, why are you connecting it to this material? Why aren't you connecting it to the output? And yeah, actually, let's take a look at the result. If I connect everything to my bump map, I'm gonna have this noise on top of everything, and it might be what you're going for, so that's more than okay. But I don't want to have just one bump on top of everything. I want to create different bumps for each material. So that's why I connected to the input of the material number 3, which is these parts. Now the bump is obviously too big. I'm gonna dial it down to 0.01. Make the noise bigger. Bring this value down. Maybe something like this. If I'm being honest, I don't like the Booyah, so I'll just go back to FBM. I think FBM gives us very good results, very fast. You might want to develop it a little bit, and we might want to bring this value even more down. Okay, yeah, this looks good. I'm just gonna copy this setup, or not. It all depends on what you want to do here. I think in my own render, I actually didn't have any thing like that. Let's just take a look. Yeah, I actually just had bump on top of these, like this color, and the other ones actually don't have any bump. It's up to you. You can just change it the way you like it. I kind of want to have something really small in here, and I'm going to change the offset so that they're not similar, these parts, because we're using the same node. I'm gonna bring up the octave, and I might actually change the noise type as well. And since I'm changing the noise type, I want to connect it directly, and let's see what's happening here. I really hate this. I don't like this noise. It looks terrible. Let's go to Fire. And I don't want to develop this Fire. Let's bring it to a value like this. And yeah, let's actually try this. Let's see how it goes. Now we're having a very subtle bump changes on our material. I like this. Now, this is a good material. We can just leave it at this and finish everything else, but I do like to develop it even further and do the same setup as I did in here for the second one as well. On these parts, I might want to add. Oh, actually, yeah, let's just do that. Let's do that. Let's use another node. I'm gonna bring the curvature, RS curvature. It's actually a very good noise for creating parts like this. As you can see, it's taking my it's basically taking my geo and it's creating curvature on top of it. And you can just bring up this sampling. You can change it to concave because I want these lines. I want to have materials on them. What we're going to get out of this is going to be similar to the effect that I have in here. These are also curvatures, these lines in here, the white ones. Let's make this even smaller, or actually let's make it bigger. Let's take a look at this. Oh yeah, I like this. Oh, this is gonna look good. I'm happy. You can just add this on top of this material if you don't want to create a new material blender, because as we go down in this list, they're going to be stacked on top of each other. The reason why I made a separate one for this part was that I wanted this to work together and then add everything on top of that. I kind of think you can get something like that with just having everything next to each other, but I kind of like this workflow. It makes me understand what I'm doing better, you know. I can look at this and be like, okay, so this is the first part, this is the second part, and I'm just adding everything on top of that. So I'm just gonna bring this in here, create a RS material, and just connect my curvature node in here. Just connect the output to surface. And yeah, you can see what's happening in here. These are the lines that we're adding. It's actually adding a lot of details to our render. I don't like this material. I'm gonna change it to white. I'm gonna bring this roughness up, and in nature we usually don't have this lights, this white, so I'm just gonna bring it down a little bit. You might also want to use the same material here and the same curvature, and adding like a bump map and just connect it to the bump map. Let's just connect everything like this and take a look. I'm not getting the result that I want. I think I need to change this to object space normal, I think, or tangent space. I might actually be connecting this in the wrong order, and yeah, I was. That's why I was getting weird results. We should connect this to the input and just play with that, and we might actually have to set this to object space normal as well. Yeah, that's the correct way of doing it, I think. I've done everything like this by experimenting with them, so feel free to change anything. I don't like this look. I'm not happy with it. I'm just gonna delete that. I don't want the bump in here. Let's connect this thing again. I'm gonna put down an RS invert, and I'm gonna invert this, and then I'm gonna put down the invert through a bump. And let's see, I don't want to scale, and I'm just gonna connect this to the bump. Let's see how this one goes. Connect your material blender to your surface. This seems good to me. I don't know, are we getting actually the result that I want? We might not be getting that. We need to experiment with this bump map a little more. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we are getting it. So this is the difference. As you can see, we are adding something in here. We might want to change this to -1 and see how it goes, and it kind of looks fine. I like it. I kind of want to move on and set up the rest of it, and I just made this a little bigger because I think it helps us. You can change this material. You can again, you can add like a jade material in here, and if you're adding jade, you don't want to have bump on top of it, and since it's actually really small, you're getting this weird look. So you can just change that again, make something like paper. Let's play with this material. Let's just leave it at that. I think it's good. Now, I'm gonna come back to my geo. I'm gonna stop rendering. I'm gonna go to my geo. I'm gonna go to tessellation. I'm gonna enable tessellation, which is gonna subdivide this geo, and I'm gonna enable displacement because I want to add some new maximum noise in here. I'm gonna hit render. And I'm just gonna put down a RS displacement, and it's gonna be terrible because it's gonna do this for in the scale of 1, and it's gonna be too big. Most of the time it's gonna be terrible. If I actually play this, probably going to get that. Weirdly enough, it actually, oh, I'm connecting it to displacement, that's why. And yeah, it looks terrible. So you want to bring this down. You might want to consider actually creating a preset in here, which I think it's actually a good idea because I've never used the value of 1 in here. I think it's too big. Even right now you can see it's actually quite a lot of displacement, and you don't want that because it's gonna look fake. Let's go to our max on noise. I'm gonna change it to FBM. Oh, I like that. You might wanna add some, let's just develop this noise, bring up the cycles, maybe go to Luca. Luca is also a very nice noise. It gives you this sort of blobby and, like, you know, it actually looks really cool. And you might actually want to use Luca instead of FBM in here. Let me just copy this noise. Let's just see. Kind of like that. And yeah, it actually looks really good. You need to play with your low clip and high clip in order to make it more visible. You're gonna want to add some octaves. Maybe play with this contrast in here. It's up to you. I'll just leave it at the original FBM. It actually looked a little bit better. Let's add the displacement on top of it, and this displacement is going to be on top of all our layers. If you do want to mask these displacements, you want to take a look at color, RS color layer, which is going to give you the ability to use blend modes like in Photoshop, and use operations and just pick some parts of it, add some noise to that, use that for the displacement, and then pick the other noise. For example, you can just connect your noise in here and just let it know that you want to add this displacement on top of this part, and yeah, things like that. I don't want to do that right now. I'm just sticking to my current noise. I'm bringing this up, maybe set it to like 0.03. Let's go with 1. I want to see the extreme. Okay, yeah, this is too extreme. 0.1. It's still quite extreme. 0.01. And I'm gonna pause this and actually hit render because I want to see the final result. It does look good. It does look good. It's not too obvious. I don't like this part, and I'm gonna change that. And let's come here. Where is my curvature? Yeah, it's here. I think it's this material, right? This is the, yeah. So I want to add a material blender between these. Or actually, instead of creating a new material, because I don't want to actually change anything, I just want to add a new pattern in here. So I'm just gonna come here, I'm gonna go to my color, I'm gonna copy this value, I'm gonna put down a color layer. I'm going to connect this to the diffuse, and you can see everything is gonna go black. I'm gonna come here to my first color, I'm gonna paste that value which I copied. It's gonna be my number 1 color, and I'm just gonna come here and paste that value in here as well, and change it a little bit to something like this. I still want it to be close, relatively close, and I'm going to use this mask. Basically, we have our base color, which is going to be the color that we have on our base, and then we're adding a layer on top of it. And I'm going to use this mask and put down another max on noise. Let's change it to Booyah this time. Let's see if it's actually working correctly. It is. I'm gonna connect it to this slot in here because I want to see it compared to the rest of my setup. Booyah might not be good in here. FBM, Hama is actually pretty good. Yeah, this looks good. And I'm just gonna connect my material in here as well. Again, I'm gonna change this value. Let's make it very extreme so that we can see what's going on. And yeah, you can see this is the black. So let's just add a value like this. We're just breaking up the surface, adding more details here. You might want to add totally new color in here. Might be something you're looking for. Maybe we want to change this overall scale. Kind of like this. I'm adding a very tiny shape of color of this blue in here. Let's change this one a little more. Instead of blue, I'm going with another color. Yeah, I kind of like this. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this color. And you can see these parts are the new ones. You can just enable new layers, add stuff on top of each other, and that's gonna be that. I also want to have some glowing parts in here. And I'm just gonna do that with bringing a new material, RS material. And I'm not gonna do it in here because I want it to be on top of the this base layer in here. So this was my base. I'm gonna bring everything up. I'm gonna create a material. In my original setup, I had these lights on top of my strands, but I thought maybe we can actually change things up. If we don't like it, we can just delete it. And I'm adding this max on noise in here. Let me just connect it to this base color so that I can see what I'm doing. We want something like Booyah. We want to make it big. We want to add octaves, and we want to filter it so that it's actually quite small and it's only on some parts. Yeah, that looks good. I'm gonna connect it again. I'm gonna go to my material, which is the new one I just made. I'm gonna bring the roughness, and I'm gonna go to overall. I'm gonna bring the emission weight, and let's just go with color like this. Yeah, this looks interesting. Maybe something in this type of color might be actually more interesting. Let's play with our noise. And obviously this is not very good, but if you come here and enable the bloom and play with this bloom value, you can see you're getting something, and it might be really interesting. It depends on what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve here. I actually closed my render view. In my original setup, actually on top of this as well, these are all glowing parts, these ones as well. Yeah, that's it. I actually kind of like this. I think it looks good. This might be better for like a planet type of effect. So I might delete this. I don't know. Let's just move on, and we're gonna take a look at everything all together. Okay, so for the strands. Now the workflow is very similar. So I just brought my the material that I set up in my original render. It's practically same technique. I'm just setting up materials, combining them, adding new materials, combining them, adding new materials, combining them. As you can see, this way of setting it up, although it has more material blenders, and you can just simply add all of these in here and you're gonna get the same result. But I actually find this to be a little more helpful. I kind of prefer this. I am going to come here and change some values. The way I set this up, as you can see, we have our first layer of materials, which is this thing. I have just a very normal color in here. Another one, I'm just mixing them together with a booyah noise. I'm changing stuff in here. Let's just take a look. I'm gonna change this color into something like this, maybe something darker, and change this pink color. Let's set it to something like this, maybe, I don't know. We should see how it goes. I just did this to make it faster. Obviously it's literally the same technique, so we shouldn't spend too much time. I'm just gonna connect the second material blender in here. I am going to provide the material file, and you can just take a look at the setup and just duplicate it, change it, add stuff to it. You can bring the curvature here if you want. I don't think you're gonna get anything, since these are actually just simple strands in there and they're not geometry, but you might want to experiment with different stuff. I like this. Let me connect the next one, and in here I'm having this new material. I just changed that one. We can actually bring this material as well. Maybe we want to make these parts darker. I don't know, it's up to you. Maybe change this one to color like this. I don't know. Okay, it's on these parts. You might want to add some weird colors in here. That's also fine. This is just look dev, you're gonna try to do different stuff, see which one works better. I'm gonna bring this material in here. I am adding some white and black parts, and I think, yeah, this is the glowing material. So let's just take a look at the parts that we want to make them glowy. Let's just change this color and see if this thing we can come up with a better color. I actually like this. I think it works very good with our scene. Maybe something like this. Oh yeah, I like that. And looking at it right now, I kind of feel like I want to have some metallic parts in here as well. So let's just come here and create some metallic parts. Okay, I'm gonna remove that. I'm gonna go to this material. I don't know which one this is. Let's just take a look. I think it's gonna be, just connect this. So what, let's take a look at the mask. Okay, so it's actually really tiny. I want to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, yeah, this looks good. So let's take a look now, and yeah, we're getting them. And I want to change this to like copper. Oh yeah, we're getting there. I'm gonna bring this value up. And then I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna connect my new material blender, which has my emissions. And what is this one? Let's take a look at what we're making in here. This is a separate value. I'm trying to make something weird there, so I don't think we're actually getting that color, so let's take a look. We are looking up a particle, and we're looking up a value called cost, which I defined from the very beginning, and it was in my actual first setup, but I don't have it right now in this one, so we actually don't need that. Instead of cost, we're going to look up our growth attribute, which is the attribute that we made. Let's just refresh the scene. Do we still have our growth? Yeah, we do. All right, so we're gonna connect them, and we're gonna take a look. And as you can see, what's happening here? Let's talk about that, because this is actually quite interesting. We're bringing, we're using a node called particle rs point attribute. What it does is it looks up a certain attribute which you define in here, for example the growth. And if you remember, if I come here and say visualize growth and go to my strands, where did we have our, okay, so this is our growth. And as you can see, the growth starts from a value pretty high. Yeah, well, pretty, I think it was 0.1, I don't know, and it goes to 0. So now what we're doing in here is doing the same thing. It starts from an attribute with a value of 0.1 and going to basically 0. I think it was 0.001, something like that. So what's happening here is we're making one attribute along this strand. Now I'm going to remap that to make it like that. Even we can even bring it more up, and then I'm going to use that as a mask for driving this color, this new material that I made. And everything looks kind of good. I actually really like this. We can play with our values, maybe bring some of it up, some of it down. Let's just see how it goes. Doesn't really matter because we're just doing this on the spot. We can just change anything, and as you can see, we start with this bluish color, and as we go forward we're going to turn it into a more red. And we might want to actually not do this in this color. I kind of want to change it, make it something like this. It's actually really interesting, but let's just bring it down. Let's make it actually darker, or maybe not. Let's just, yeah, let's just stick to this. We're just adding some details here and there. Oh yeah, this looks good. I like it. Now for the tiny strands, I'm just gonna use a normal material. You can use anything you want, basically. Doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna add some color to it. I don't want to have reflections. You can bring up refraction a little bit, but it's gonna be time consuming, so I'm not gonna do that. I also don't like the color, the current version. Maybe something like this would work better. It does. I'm gonna come out, go to my RBC, which is red blood cells. I'm gonna turn this into red. Obviously it's not the red that I want. I want to tone it down, make it darker, maybe something like this, which works better with our scene. You can also add some refractions. You can also play with the subsurface. Let's do something with this scatter. Let's see if it actually looks better. I don't know. I don't think it will. Let's just use color in here. Let me actually turn off my diffuse and my reflection and my refraction, and this is basically the subsurface that I'm getting right now. Maybe the scale should be, oh, actually I kind of like this. And I'm gonna play with the absorption scale. You can add some colors in here as well, and it's gonna be absorbing that, so be careful. Actually, I kind of like this. It actually looks good, so we might keep it. It is going to be time consuming, so you know, if you don't want to add time to your render, you want to avoid that. And let's actually make it darker. And oh, this is good. I like this. It's a very good look. It's a very natural look. I'm just gonna leave it at this. It doesn't really matter. These materials are not very important. I'm gonna change this to a color like that for the background. Maybe something like that. Just remove some roughness, add some roughness to it, and let's enable our bokeh. And this is what we're getting. It's obviously different from the render that I had, but that's the beauty of it. You can just play with it. If you don't like this color, you can bring it down, you know, something like this. You can just turn off your subsurface and just bring this scatter scale down. It's fine. You don't need to do this. You can add some color to your reflection, bring down the roughness, make it actually darker, maybe. It all depends on the look that you're going for. I kind of like this. Maybe just stick to it. I don't know. Let's take a look at our bloom. It is giving us some good results, so I do like that. So I might actually keep the bloom. Yeah, let's just keep it. Let's just keep it. I like this. I kind of think I do need a blue color somewhere. Let's try with the background. Let's see how it would look with a bluish color. Actually, it doesn't look that bad. So you might want to do that. Or maybe, actually, let's add this color. I want to bring the volumetric light. I think it's gonna add a lot to our scene. This color looks good, but I honestly really enjoyed this one, so I might actually stick to a bluish color in here. If these are in fact red blood cells, obviously it's not going to be blue, so I don't know. It's something abstract. It doesn't really matter. You can just change this to something else. It's more than okay. Feel free to experiment with this, and maybe actually turning this into paper is also going to be better, because if it's skin, if like we're seeing this on the inside of a body, we are going to have like a paper type of effect there. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to this. I'm just bringing this value down a little bit more, maybe change it up a bit. And yeah. Oh yeah, I like this. I actually really like this. So, last but not least, and I'm just gonna save this. I'm gonna come to my light, this one. And it's gonna be my top light. And before doing that, I need to go to my redshift ROP. Under redshift tab, we have volumetric scattering. We're gonna enable that. We're gonna come back here. We're gonna go to our top view. Let's just keep this one here. so that we can see what's going on. And I'm gonna go to my light, gonna come here, and under volume we're gonna add something to our contribution. And as you can see, we're losing a lot. So what's the solution here? The solution that I usually do, and I think it's better, is actually coming to the side, for example, something like this, and creating a new light. For volumetrics, I tend to keep them, keep the light actually smaller compared to other lights in my scene. And I'm changing this thing, so let's just go to camera 1 again. And you can see the effect. It's not even visible. Great. That's a good thing, because we are going to introduce, and I'm just gonna call it volume light. I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna go to under my light tab, and I'm gonna add contribution. And you can see we are getting there. We are adding volumetrics. I might actually turn off the you can just hit O and bring the settings up and turn off the bloom for the time being. We want to add, these are post effects, so you should be careful with them and add them actually after you've done everything. And now we're going to play with this spread value. And as you can see, oh yeah, we're adding these God rays. You can just bring it on this side as well. It might look good. Oh, I actually kind of like that. Let's go to volume light. Let's make it let's uncheck the visible, so that you won't see that when you're rendering it like as an object. So maybe we can have like a light coming from this angle. You can see where it's coming from still, so you should play with this value, see which one do you prefer. The possibilities are endless with Redshift. I really love this render engine. I think it's really powerful. You can do so much with it. Yeah, you can. I'm just gonna leave it at here. Bring this spread value down. Make something like this. I really like this type of effect. Might bring it down a little bit. It's actually too much in here, so we don't want to do that. We want to bring it back, maybe. I mean, at this point, it's just changing and tweaking and getting the scene to look the way you want it to, rather than just following this formula. You should definitely try to come up with your own. I'm just gonna play with the exposure, maybe leave it at 0. Actually, let's turn on temperature, bring the temperature down. So yeah, bring it down, because the blue one doesn't really look good. I don't like that. One thing that you can do here is actually putting down an object on top of it and trying to send the light in like that. Oh yeah, I like that. I really like this angle. So I'm just going to keep playing with this side. We can make the light even smaller or make it even bigger. It all depends on you. I'm gonna change it to something like this, make it extreme. Oh yeah, actually it looks really cool. And yeah, let's just copy this volume light. Volume light, I'm gonna call this one volume light number 1. I'm going to call this one volume light number 2. I like to add a 0 for that as well. I'm gonna go to number 2. I'm gonna bring it to this side. And oh, we're getting something really interesting. I'm gonna make it be whiter, add some blue tint, make it colder basically. And yeah, this is actually really interesting. I kind of like this. I'm not gonna lie. It's very different than what we already had, but yeah. I'm also going to go inside the core. We had something in here. It was our glowing material. I'm gonna connect that again, and let's see how that one is gonna go. We're adding these glowing parts in here, which I think are actually helping. I am also going to enable my bloom again. And oof, this is actually really good. I loved it. Oh yeah. Just play with these values. Maybe add some flare? Nah. Flare is not good. You can play with the color lookups and just change them. Some of them are going to look very nice. I tend to not do that and just do everything after that in post-production. If it's an animation, I'm gonna do it with After Effects, or if it's just one simple photo, I'm gonna do it with Photoshop. And yeah, that's our final render. I'm gonna set this to render now, and I'm gonna show you the results. All right, so it's done. It actually turned out better than I thought. I'm very happy with the results. So, I hope this was a good tutorial. I will be doing these kind of tutorials more often. I am going to be making a series for beginners. So if these videos were hard for you, don't worry. I am going to start very soon and creating more beginner-friendly tutorials. I think this was a pretty simple setup, but I am going to be making basically explaining everything from the very beginning, talking about WAPs, talking about PopNets, talking about simulations and stuff like that. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.